Hey everyone, welcome to Centralia Fur and Hide instructional video on how to build a Native American style hand drum. In this video we'll be showing the Lakota style. My name is Eric. I am Mountain Maidu from High Sierra, California. I've been working for Centralia Fur and Hide since about 2009, and I've been building drums for about 10 years of that. I have drums all over the world in museums and politician offices. I've had drums at Standing Rock, you name it, I have drums there. We offer our drum kits in a variety of sizes, starting with a 10-inch, goes to 12-inch, 14-inch, 15-inch, 16-inch, 18-inch, and then a 20-inch. We also offer our kits in a variety of different species, such as deer, elk, maybe some moose sometimes, buffalo, cow, horse, and every once in a while we get some bear in. All of our drum frames that we build our drums with here and that you will get in your kits come from the United States of America, and all of our rawhide is also done here in the U.S. The first part of building any drum is going to be soaking it, and we here at Centralia Fur and Hide will soak our rounds overnight for the next day, and I suggest everybody does that also. Just give it a good day of soaking. We'll have no issues with it, especially if you're going to do thicker hides as buffalo and cow. Now we can build our drum. So now we're going to show you how to break down the edge of the drum round. This is not a vital step, but we do recommend it. It helps with the drum, makes it more pliable and easier to work with around the drum frame. And I'll also show you how to break down the lace too and get the stretch out of the lace. So it's a pretty simple step. We're going to open it up round. Basically we want to do about the width of the frame, 1.5 inches, 2 inches in, and we don't need to go any farther than that because we're basically just breaking it down for the frame. So we're just going to take it around your post, and not everybody has this, I understand. So at your house you can use anything like the back of a chair, deck post, anything that you can just grab a corner and just break your edge down. So we're just going to grab about that width apart, and we're just going to kind of work it in a circle all the way around until we meet back at the beginning. Put a little bit of pressure on it. You don't have to stretch it too much, just kind of break it down. When you start feeling it in your arms and your chest, then you know you're doing it right. Don't spend too much time on it, just quickly work it around. Back to where you started, and see the wrinkles around the edge should kind of look like that, and that means it's broke down good enough. And we'll grab your lace here, and we're kind of going to do the same thing. Just start with one end, wrap it around a post or whatever you have, pull a little tension on it, and kind of just work out the stretch. This will help your drum stay tensioned properly when it dries, because there will be nothing left to stretch out. And that is how you break down the lace in the edge of your drum. All right, with our rounds soaked overnight, we can start building our drum. Just remember, everybody, cold water when you're soaking your rounds also. I forgot to mention that earlier, but cold water. Like, we don't want to put it in warm water. That cooks the skin, basically. This is flesh, and it will cook it, and it will deteriorate your drum, and it's not good. So cold water always. So first thing I want to do is just lay out my round. Put my drum frame, trying to just put it in the center of it, get it to where all the sides and everything is. I'm going to make sure that it can reach over the frame. Once I do that, then we're going to start to move to our holes. Basically, all the tools you're going to need is something to make your holes with and scissors. I mean, anything else you don't need. You might need a hammer if you want to do some tacks later on, which I'll explain as we're going with the drum. But pretty much right here, this is what you need. This will get your drum built. So I'm just going to start with the first hole right in the center in front of me where I'm standing, and I want to punch my hole not too close to the edge and not too far back. But if you poke it too close to the edge, it's going to rip out. It has a possibility of ripping out, and we don't want that, especially when it dries. Take our lace, and we're going to go start top down. Always from the top, go down through, and then we're just going to tie a knot. Doesn't have to be any particular knot. Any knot would work, as long as the lace holds tight and strong. When it dries, whatever knot you put on it, it's going to be good enough. It ain't going anywhere. So I'm just adjusting my frame a little bit to get it back in the center. Essentially, that's what you're looking for right now, step one. So I'm going to go straight down the center. Try to center it as best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to poke my second hole. Now if you push on your lace on your rawhide a little bit, you can see that it makes an indentation. And that just helps give you a guide of where you want to poke your hole at, so you don't lose your spot. Pull the lacing down. I'm going to cut it about 3-4 inches past the frame. That'll give me enough lacing that I can tie my knot and I won't be too short. Same thing, just a knot. And I'm going to cut the excess. I like to cut it right about the frame. You don't need too much of it left over. It just becomes a nuisance. So essentially that's step one, right across the frame. So I'm going to spin it about 180. Make sure that I have enough skin to go up and over the frame, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to poke my hole right in front of me. Just kind of lay my lace across just to kind of give it an eye shot, see where it's at. Poke the hole. Remember, not too close to the edge. Don't want it to rip when it dries or when you're tying it. Top down. Again, just another simple knot. Square knot's perfect. That's all you need, square knot. I'm going to pull it straight across. Just give it a good visual and make sure it's in the center. Another hole. We're going to cut the lace about 3-4 inches over the frame. Give us enough to tie. Top down. Pull a little bit tight. You don't want it too tight. You want the tension not go all the way to down to the skin, but not, you don't want it all floppy and loose either. So good tension on it. Remember, when it dries, it'll dry tight. So you need to warp or crack your frame if you pull this too tight. You don't want to pull it too tight. And that's step 2. Should speed across. There's your 4 directions right there. So again, we're just going to spin it again. Now we're going to cut this one right down the center. Poke the hole in front of me. I'm just going to lay it across like I did the first time, just to get a visual. I'm going to poke my hole. And this is a good example to show anybody how, if you want to get rid of a lot of this excess that we're not going to use, we're just going to take our scissors and we're just going to cut. Basically just like that. You spin it again, tie the hole. It's just easier. I always spin it and tie my knots away from me. It's way easier to control your whole drum frame and tie the knot. It's really hard to do it from this side. All right. It's also essential when we get down to the finishing steps. My fingers go down in here all the way to the table basically, and I'm trying to pull against the frame. And what I'm doing is I'm pulling this excess out so it doesn't end up flat when it dries. I'm going to pull this straight across. Make our hole. Again, I'm going to cut a little excess off. You'll have a lot of this with your deer skins because they do have a lot of stretch in them, a lot of play. It's not necessary to cut it off. It's not going to hurt your drum any. It's not going to affect the sound. It's just, it'll make it look better. Tie my knot again. And there's your third string right there. All right, last one. This is important right here. Make sure you put your fingers down inside that frame and pull it all out. You can see it move when you're doing it. And it'll keep it from going flat again. Cut the excess off. And I want to say this again, this is not a step that needs to be done. This is just something that we do here, that I do. It's not going to affect your drum at all in any way. Entire last knot here. Make sure we got all the play out of it. Make our last hole. You don't have to cut anything on this one. That's nice. Want to cut your lace about, just going to show it on the last one so everybody can see, about that far over. I'm going to cut about right there. It's about all we need. Just want to make sure you have enough to tie your knot. You don't want to cut yourself short. Alright, cut the excess off the pigtail a little bit. And that is the last one. That's what it should look like, or close to that when we get done, before we put our handles on. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just all it has to do is just be tied and keeps the rawhide over the frame and makes your drum have sound. So I'm gonna put my handle on now. That's the last step. Second to last step, sorry. I like to give my handles a little stretch and just get to play out of them, because they do loosen up over time and they will come loose and it'll get goofy on your strings, and we don't want that. So I'm gonna turn this and I'm gonna use the bottom string. You always want to use bottom string as an anchor, the very first one that you did. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tie my handles. I'm gonna use these two, and then I'm gonna spin it, and it's gonna be the other two. So use the bottom one, just take your cross, spin it to where you can see it. You wanna use those two. Again, these two. I just kind of pull this out, center it on top of the drum. Take my tail that I'm not tying, and I'll tuck it in, because it kind of keeps it solid and it'll keep it from moving on you. And then we're gonna start wrapping it. We'll wrap those two rawhide lacing. And I like to give a good 3 or 4 wraps. There's no specific number, just making a handle for your hands and not be so, not in the rawhide when you're playing your drum. Give a little something soft. That's pretty good. These is usually for kid drums anyway, so full grown hand is not going to go on there, but 3 or 4 wraps is pretty good for the size of the drum. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to start at the very bottom of my handle piece, and I'm going to split it in half and just go all the way up right to where the wraps are. You have 2 tails. You take the inside tail up and over, reach through, and pull it up. Then you got your 2 pieces, and basically you're just going to tie another square knot. Doesn't have to be perfect, just holds it on there. You can cut these if you want to, you don't have to. I just like to cut them. I keep them a little bit long. You can cut them short, doesn't matter. Spin it over. I'm just going to spin it exactly 360. Take my other part and do the same thing. So just start wrapping it. So over. Now I'm going to wrap it the same amount of times, just to make it look symmetrical. But again, there's no reason for the 3 or 4 or 5, 6, however many wraps you do. Start at the bottom. Slice this all the way up to the center. Take your inside one all the way over, reach through, take 2 ends, tie a knot. Try to cut these roughly the same length. It's not important. All right, that's your first step to your handle. So we're just going to spin it. We do the exact same thing. Stretch this out, get the play out of it. Remember, tuck this in down underneath. It'll help keep it out of the way and keeps it from moving on you. Wrap it over the top. 3, 4. I'm just doing 4 wraps on mine. Straight center again. Inside one over, reach through, tie knot. I'm gonna cut these symmetrical. I'm gonna spin it. And the last one. And again, I'm just giving all my handles 4 wraps, just trying to keep them all the same number. It's not important. And there's no specific number. It's whatever feels good or whatever looks good is going to work on your hand. Inside one, up and over, reach through, tighten up. All right, and our handle is now finished. We can move on to the last step. And that is what your handle should look like, or something like that. When you get done with this, doesn't have to be perfect. Again, doesn't even have to be perfectly centered. Just get a handle on there. It covers the rawhide lacing, so you're not holding on to the rawhide the whole time you're drumming. Gives your hand something nice to hold on to. So the last step, and this isn't important either. It just is something that we do here. A lot of people can just fold these over and call it good, and be happy with that. Here we like to dress up our drums a little bit. We will fold these over, give a little roll. And again, all I'm doing is just kind of rolling rawhide. So it looks something like that. Again, it's not essential. It's not going to affect the sound of your drum or anything like that. But it'll get rid of all this excess and it'll make it look a little bit nicer. This is where the other tools I spoke about in the beginning of the video with tacks and a hammer. Sometimes this won't lay down, and if you want it to stay down, then that's where the tacks come in. You just put tack down here. Just kind of hammer it in the best you can. And then it'll help it stay down. And this is where the deer skin and the elk skin species will come into play with children and beginners, because it'll make stuff like this way easier to work with and not so hard for people to do. Get frustrated, make your drum. And these are great drums for beginning and students. They're pretty easy to make. Doesn't take a lot of time. Great for a first time project. While I'm doing this, I am tucking in the pigtails, if you can see right here, before I cover it up and ruin it, like these little things right here. If you don't cover them up or tuck them in, sometimes they'll just cause vibrations. They'll rub against the frame or they'll against the rawhide, and it'll just cause vibrations. So you can cut them off real short. You know, like I said, once the rawhide dries, it's not going to go anywhere. It probably won't pull out. But the best thing to do really is just kind of hide them and tuck them in under, and then once it dries and they're tucked in, they're not going to come out and they won't vibrate on you and won't cause noises in your drum that you don't know where they're coming from. Plus, again, it will make them look nice. You won't have all those weird little pigtails hanging down for nothing. So just a couple minutes of just rolling your rawhide up, and it dresses your drum up real nice. Makes it look pretty good. And then at the end, should look something like this. Have a good, nice, taut sound to it instead of loose and flat. Now we'll know that's going to dry up nice. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be exact. Just kind of what we're aiming for. So now that we have our drum built, the last thing to do in this process is to let it dry. So here at Centralia Fur and Hide, we advise strongly against an open flame or a heater such as a wall heater. Definitely just let it hang dry, lean it up against something, put a fan on it if you want it to dry a little bit faster, just some natural airflow, just no heat or anything like that. And then when the next day, it should take overnight, maybe to dry your drum, depending on where you live and if it's summer or winter. And then the next day, or roughly the next day, you will have your finished drum. Should look and sound something like this. You get the idea. We offer all of our drum kits with a pre-punched fashion or option also, sorry. And when you get to building the bigger drums, such as 18s and 20s, that pre-punched option is always awesome to have. They get a little thick and a little hard to deal with sometimes, so just not messing with that is just a great option to have. So thank you everybody for watching and making the purchase. Look us up on fernhide.com. You'll find numerous other kits, numerous other things that we sell. Kits such as moccasin kits, baby moccasin kits, into the trail smudge kits, rattle kits, turtle rattle, rawhide rattle, just numerous kits that I can't mention them all right now. Click on the link in the description below, and good luck everybody. Thanks for watching.